Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're going to be doing a short video about the Steam Autumn Sale. I'm going to be talking about some of the games that I think are worth taking a look that are currently on sale within the strategy and wargaming space. This is, especially on the wargaming side, this is a space that doesn't get a lot of sort of mainstream press attention, and even in the strategy space it's a lot less so. So there's a fair chance you may not know about some of the games that are currently on sale, and I wanted to talk about it. This is something we did in the Steam summer sale as well, and it was very well regarded. It was actually something I did because a lot of people asked, hey, what are the strategy or what are the war games that are on sale that I should be taking a look at? And while I think many of these titles on this list may already be in your library, they may not be, and I wanted to call them out to sort of bring some attention to them. Now, I will say that none of the games on the list were on the list for the Steam summer sale. I didn't want to keep saying the same games. Also, I think Steam has certain rules, because I know at least half that list isn't on sale here, so they may not let you put back-to-back sales on. I'm not really sure how all that works, but that's neither here nor there. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the strategy and war games, sort of the top 5 strategy and war games that I noticed that I think are worth taking a look at. Again, excluding anything we talked about in the summer sale. Before we do that, the Steam Autumn Sale runs from November 21st, so 2 days ago. We're a little bit late to the party on this one, and it runs until November 28th. So this is effectively, for folks in America, this is like a Thanksgiving type sale. And for folks who aren't, well, it's an autumn sale, whatever. As sort of a call out also to the folks who are watching this in America, if you are, happy Thanksgiving to all of you. Hope you're having a great one. I hope you're able to spend some time with family, friends, loved ones, whoever, and get a little bit of time to sort of rest and recharge, and maybe eat some okay-ish food. I know Thanksgiving food isn't everybody's alley, but whatever. I know I'll be enjoying it, so I'm thankful for all of you. I'm thankful for the support that you have shown this channel, for the growth that this channel has had over the years as it continues to grow, and the fact that so many people seem at least moderately interested in watching the stuff that I put out there. So I do appreciate it all. It means a lot to me. I never thought this channel would get anywhere near as large as it is, so thank you all for that. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the Steam Autumn Sale and take a look at the top 5 strategy and war games, which you can pick up currently on sale on Steam. At number 5 is Call to Arms, Gates of Hell, Ostfront, published by Digital Mindsoft and developed by Barbed Wire Studios. This is a real-time tactical game. I definitely say it fits in both the strategy and wargaming genre. And this is, I don't know if you'd call it like a Men of War style game, but effectively tactical combat on the Eastern Front in a pretty approachable and mainstream way. Really well done graphics. It includes both sort of single player missions. It also includes sort of a dynamic campaign, which is pretty interesting. I watch Wolfpack 345 and Finnish Jaguar both doing sort of co-ops on Twitch a lot, and it's an enjoyable watch as well as an enjoyable play. I really should put more time into this game. I've played it a bit, but it would probably make a nice addition to the channel, but it is currently 75% off, and it is only $8.74 as part of this sale. The other reason that this is on the list is because it's about to get a major DLC called Call to Arms, Gates of Hell, Liberation, which is going to bring the game, which currently is only sort of focused on the Eastern Front. It'll bring this game to the Western Front. So you will be able to fight in Normandy. You'll be able to fight some battles in like the Battle of the Bulge, the Rush to the Rhine and whatnot. And so, you know, previously this game was only available on the Eastern Front, but with that DLC, with Liberation, you'll be able to fight with a whole new slew of armies and weapons. And I think that is, you know, if you're looking at that game and that sounds interesting to you, the fact that you can get the base game for $8.74 right now on sale, definitely a good time to pick it up if you are interested. So that's number 5, Call to Arms, Gates of Hell, Ostfront, and that's all I've got to say about that. At number 4 on this list is a game that I have covered extensively on this channel, including 2 full playthroughs of the game, and that is Suzerain, a game developed by Torpor Games and published by Fellow Traveler. This is a fictional sort of role-playing strategy game, if you will, almost like a visual novel, but a bit more interactive, I think, than those tend to be. And with some management of like budget type resources and personal finance resources, in addition to the personal management of your family and your kingdom, I definitely think it falls into the strategy game genre as well. You are effectively in this game a president of a country which has just come out from a series of serious economic and social challenges. You are still dealing with those challenges in this fictional 1950s universe, and you're effectively kind of like a nation that's in between. You know, you're not poor, but you're not rich. You're kind of a developing nation in this way of this Cold War world that exists. You have serious domestic instability due to various factions that exist within your country. And you have to do all of these, you have to make all these decisions around how you're going to lead your country through these challenges while managing not just the finances of your country, not just the development of your country, but the personal relationships that you have with your cabinet, with your family, with members of your party. And it's a very well done game with beautiful storytelling. The game is currently on sale for 70% off, which means it's $5.99. And another reason this game falls on this list, similar to Call to Arms, is there is a DLC that is coming out. I think it's supposed to be later this year, so should be, any week now, if not, then early next year, called Suzerain Rizia, which will, in Suzerain, the base game, you're in a sort of quasi-democratic country that has some authoritarian past, but there's no monarchy, right? Like you're elected, you have to run for elections, things like that. But Suzerain Rizia is going to put you in charge of the Kingdom of Rizia, which is a monarchy and feels a little bit like, I don't know if it's really supposed to be like Saudi Arabia, but there's definitely elements of sort of that Middle Eastern monarchy type stuff that I've seen in the sort of the promo stuff for the Rizia DLC. So I'm really excited about Rizia. It's coming out very soon, and you are going to have to own, at least according to Steam, you are going to have to own the base game of Suzerain in order to get Rizia. So I would imagine, again, good time to pick Suzerain up just ahead of the DLC if the DLC interests you. They're also introducing some new war mechanics for Rizia, some new military aspects to the game, and I believe it's going to lean more into foreign policy. So the base game of Suzerain, much more domestic focused, sort of the nature of the country you're leading. That's just the reality. You're not a superpower, but Rizia, I believe, is a petrostate. With a lot more foreign policy implications there. So another game that I think is very exciting. I'm looking forward to Rizia. And hey, if you can get the base game of Suzerain for 70% off before Rizia comes out even, I think it's definitely worth taking a look at. And the base game is worthwhile playing in of its own sort of, it stands on its own. So at number 4, Suzerain, the sort of role-playing kingdom management strategy game. At number 3, I'm going to cheat a little bit. We've got a 2-for-1 here in this third item on the list, and that is Ultimate General Civil War and also Ultimate General Gettysburg. They're both 50% off, and Ultimate General Civil War, that puts it to $14.99. Ultimate General Gettysburg is $7.49 at 50% off. These are both real-time tactical war games. Ultimate General Civil War is the second game in the series. Gettysburg was the first. They're both developed by Game Labs. And I think to date, these are the 2 best Game Lab games that have been made. Gettysburg is very much a spiritual successor to Sid Meier's Gettysburg of the late 1990s, which I think to this day, if you can get it to run on your system, it is still probably the best Civil War game ever made. But Ultimate General Gettysburg does sort of have a lot of influence there. Basically, this is a game where you fight through specific scenarios during the Battle of Gettysburg. It might be to take McPherson's Ridge. It might be to take Seminary Ridge if you're the Confederates on July 1st. You could have Pickett's Charge on July 3rd. But basically the way this game unfolds is you pick a side, Union or Confederate, you fight through the Battle of Gettysburg in linked scenarios, which are portions but not the entire Battle of Gettysburg, and you fight through them in 20 to 30 minute long battles, using sort of a real-time tactical engine. And depending on the results of the battle, those results are carried forward. So if your units get absolutely savaged, they'll be weakened in future battles, likewise for the Federal or Confederate units that you fight. Additionally, depending on the result of the battle, that will influence what battle you fight next. So you might follow the historical path following historical scenarios of Gettysburg. But for example, if you take Little Round Top on July 2nd as the Confederates, July 3rd won't be Pickett's Charge, right? Because you've taken Little Round Top. It might be defending Little Round Top against a Union counteroffensive. And that's sort of one of the great things that Sid Meier's Gettysburg did back in the day, was this idea of sort of a dynamic campaign within the Battle of Gettysburg. You're not fighting anywhere else. You're not fighting any other battles, but you have these linked battles that are influenced and determine what you play next based on your prior fight. So Ultimate General Gettysburg, a very well done game by Game Labs. And then Ultimate General Civil War, which was the sequel to Ultimate General Gettysburg. It took a little bit of the detail out of the individual battles. You're not fighting scenarios within battles. You're basically, every battle is one scenario. So, you know, you fight Shiloh kind of the same way you would have fought an individual scenario within Gettysburg. You fight Shiloh in kind of a similar length battle. So it does kind of simplify each individual battle, but what it does have that Gettysburg didn't have is it basically has every single major engagement during the Civil War included in it, and it has a campaign that lets you fight through the war from the beginning of the conflict to the end with some additional fictional scenarios built in. Where this game's campaign really focuses is not in dynamism. You fight the same list of battles no matter what, but where this game focuses in on is the ability to manage your army. So you have to, you know, you're basically an individual general in the Civil War, an Ultimate General Civil War, and then you have to sort of build your force that fights under you. And as the campaign goes on, the battles are fought basically exclusively by your force, which you raise individual brigades, you assign commanders to those brigades, you create divisions. So you manage your order of battle, you create corps, and then you equip your troops with a wide variety of historical firearms and artillery. You have to manage recruitment, replacements. You have to manage experience of your units. Are you going to put veterans in as reinforcements for casualties or rookies? How are you going to handle those units in combat? Do you kind of create a history within individual units where you become very attached to individual units? And it's a pretty well done game that I really enjoy. Both of these games are 50% off. Civil War being $14 and Gettysburg being just shy of $8. So I definitely think they're worth taking a look at. If the Ultimate General Revolution, American Revolution stuff that you've been seeing on the channel the last few days is really up your alley, but the strategic campaign is not your focus. Like if you really want to fight the battles and, you know, being able to march around on the strategy map isn't the most important thing. These are some of the best games out there. So I definitely recommend taking a look at those if you haven't already. They are both on Steam, so you can definitely check that out. Obviously, this is a Steam sale video. So yeah, Ultimate General Civil War and Ultimate General Gettysburg, both 50% off for the Steam Autumn Sale. At number 2 on this list, I might get some criticism on this one, but it's Victoria 3, the newest sort of mainline IP out by Paradox Interactive, the sequel to, as you guessed it, Victoria 2. It is currently 50% off. Which makes it $24.99. Now, Victoria 3 is not a perfect game. And again, this list isn't in any particular order. So you could say it's 5th, you could say it's 2nd or whatever. But what I will say about this game is it appeals to me. And again, these lists are, they're based on my personal preference. So you may disagree, but I do find the era of sort of imperial, conflict one of the more interesting eras in history, sort of this era of after Napoleon and up through the end of World War I, sort of the European empires spreading out and, colonizing most of the rest of the world. It also oversaw the rise of the United States to superpower status, as well as the U.S.'s Civil War. It oversaw the Russian Revolution as well, the unification of Germany. It is a fascinating period of history. And especially for someone who's very interested in naval matters, it oversaw, the development from sail power to, steam power to ironclads to, the most modern that battleships would become effectively. And so it's an era that really appeals to me. Now, this is a game about geopolitics. It's a grand strategy game, basically, where you rule one of the powers in the world. It's not just the great powers either. You can play as Great Britain and France, but as we did on my playthrough on this channel, you can also play as lesser powers. You can play as Mexico or any other country in the world. And so it's very enjoyable. It's really about the industrialization era in the world, the rise of labor movements, of suffrage movements, and whatnot. And it's a really interesting game. I don't think it hits on everything it tries to do. The warfare, I like the concept of abstracting out it, but it also makes for like meaningless conflicts in the scheme of the colonial conflicts become very much just, there's not much to them. And so it really does. I think the war system applies best in the case of looking at major conflicts. I don't think as an output of industry, it captures the colonial conflicts all that well. But one thing I think it does really, really well is the way that the markets and the trade works, the ability to sort of create your own private markets, mercantile markets, where the empire sort of fuels your economic growth, right? Where the colonies, the goods feed into your market, which fuels your growth, allows you to export things within your market. The struggle of smaller powers to stay outside of the bigger powers' influence and markets to maintain some independence. I really like Victoria 3, and I'd also say that despite its somewhat mixed reputation, there has been a major update recently, the 1.5 update, which just came out. I think the game is headed in a good direction, and at 50% off, I think it's worth taking a look at. Maybe it's something that warrants, like, let's revisit the game. Let's see if warfare works the way it should. I know the late game had some problems when the game first came out, where when wars got bigger, things just kind of got and into the late game where like the AI wouldn't properly develop or research things. I can understand there's some criticisms there, and I think I'm spending more time addressing criticisms than I am talking about why I like the game. But I do think it is an enjoyable game for me in any event. And so I did want to mention it because it is 50% off. I also will say I do like the way that the industrial development works. I know a lot of you who are like, I want the private sector to do everything in the way it did in the previous Victoria games. That wasn't the way it was at launch, but that's the direction things are going with some of these updates. So it might be worth a second look if you played it before and you kind of fell off it. And if you haven't played it before, check some videos out, see if it's something that looks interesting to you, because, building sort of this complex economy where you've got all these different inputs into different sectors of your economy to generate, development and wealth, while also trying to expand the reach of your own goods via expanding, bringing other countries into your market. I just think it really speaks to a lot of what is interesting about this era. And I personally enjoy it. So that's number 2 on my list, Victoria 3. And at number 1 on my list is a game called Terra Invicta, which is kind of a space 4X strategy game. I don't know. I guess it falls as 4X, but it's effectively a grand strategy game that takes place both on Earth and in our solar system. And it's really deep. Like, this is a game that's still in early access. It is published by Hooded Horse, which frankly might be the most, I don't know if most ambitious, maybe the most ambitious. They seem to be the most exciting strategy publisher out there right now in terms of like new players on the market. They're working on a game called Hypocrisy, which is basically an espionage sim that I'm really looking forward to. I know a ton of people are really excited about Manor Lords, which they're also the publisher for. But they're working on a lot of really exciting games out there, and they're the publisher for Terra Invicta. The developer is Pavnois, and I might be mispronouncing that, Interactive, which interestingly enough, Terra Invicta's creative director is actually a sci-fi author, John Lumpkin. He made the Human Reach series, which is a pair of books which were kind of a little bit Clancy-esque in space. Like, the appeal of Terra Invicta is kind of like it's, you know, real world international relations meets space sci-fi with like real sort of science behind it, or at least some anyway, which is again kind of the appeal of his books as well, which I think is interesting. But effectively, Terra Invicta is a game about geopolitics on the Earth. You know, there's a threat to Earth. There's a bunch of different factions on Earth that you've got to kind of try to gain control over or unite or manage. And it is incredibly deep. It has, I've seen people say they put 100 hours before they even get off the planet effectively. And then once you're off the planet, like then there's this whole new game aspect of colonizing the solar system, mining asteroids, colonizing Mars, doing things like that, while dealing with, you know, extraterrestrial threats to the galaxy or to the solar system, and also still sort of managing relations internally. It's a game I have not put enough time into, frankly. It's a game I need to put more time into. It is, again, very deep, very long, but it's really appealing, and I think this is a game that, you know, New Year's resolution 2024. It's a game I really wanna get to know and learn and possibly put on the channel a bit. I've talked to a couple other content creators who have featured this game, and they're like, one of the challenges about this game is there is so much, and it takes so long to get going in some ways that it can be challenging for a series unless you're like heavily editing it, which is not something I do a ton of on this channel, but certainly a game I want to give a look. The game is currently 30% off, so it's not the largest sale on this list, but it's definitely something I think worth taking a look at. 30% off, that makes it $27.99, and you know, just I think it's the grand strategy space 4X game that I have seen the most excitement about, the most buzz about. It came out in the back half of last year, so it's been in early access for over a year, but they are still, you know, they're still developing it. They're still working on updates, and you know, I definitely hope that that this thing turns into, you know, the dream that a lot of people have for it. But it's certainly worth taking a look at now, regardless. Yeah, that's all I got. So hope you guys enjoyed this list. This is Terra Invicta, the #1 sort of strategy game. Again, I guess the numbers don't matter, but a strategy game worth taking a look at that is part of the Steam Autumn Sale. And yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of the list. I guess there's a few honorable mentions. I was going to mention War in the East 2, which I have and I have not played enough of, and I would really like to. If we're going to do New Year's resolutions, that's another game that I would like to actually play enough to be able to feel like I confidently know that it's either great or not. That game is on sale. It's still over $50 right now, but it's what is it, 30% off as well. It's just the base price of that game is very, very high. And I'm sure there's a bunch of other games that I missed on this list as well. Again, it's a list of 5. It's personal preference. It's what I saw when I scrolled through Steam and that I thought would be worth, you know, talking about. And also, which I hadn't called out in the previous sale. So if a game was in the list in the previous sale and it's on sale again, we didn't include it for that reason. I think like Unity of Command 2, I believe, falls into that bucket. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this list. Let me know your thoughts below. Let me know what games you have your eyes on that are currently on sale for the Steam Autumn Sale. And without further ado, that's going to do it for today's look at my top 5 strategy and war games worth taking a look at in the Steam Autumn Sale for 2023. Tomorrow we will probably return to some more Ultimate General American Revolution. Maybe we'll even post a video of that later today, but we'll see. But that's all I've got for you today. So with that being said, until then, next time, however, this is the Historical Gamer saying once again, thank you very much for watching. And as always, I'm out.